Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video we're going to be kicking off the year with a bit of chat around about how 2024 went, what went well, what went badly, and what are going to be our improvements for 2025. So if you find value in this conversation between me and Kay, then be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on the video. It really does help me out, especially for the journey of 2025. So let's jump into it. What went well for me in 2024 was really quite simple. It's risk management. In the previous years before, I've spoken about how kind of stop losses are very important, etc. But I didn't always really set them. I didn't really always set them right. But this year, my stop losses have been on point. They've been every single trade. Very important to always have that stop loss straight away. Now, my strategy is basically breakout trading, so it does require a stop loss all the time. Sometimes Kay might not have a stop loss all the time because of his different strategies, and that's okay. But yeah, I think what really went well for me is kind of risk management on the other side of things as well, in terms of taking profits. But we'll talk a bit about that a bit later on. But my target profit zones and taking the profits was really good. But there was a bit of an issue with that, but obviously we'll get onto that in just a second. So what went well for me is basically risk management as a whole. There's only, lots of things went well for me, but we picked one each this weekend. So yeah, what's yours, Kay?
So I think mine relates to what you were saying, and mine was patience in executing the trade. So making the right entry points. So primarily I'm an option seller. So I tend to sell options on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, or monthly basis. So the entry point at what price you want to own the stock is very important, right? So if you pay much higher price point and the stock dips below, and you are an option seller where you're buying stocks in multiplication of 100, that becomes a problem. So having the patience to enter at the point where you know that this eventual option strategy, which is a wheel strategy of buying and selling, in a regular form, it works. And I think this year I was able to refine that much better than my previous year. Got much better results this year compared to last year, and I'm very happy with my patience level of making the right entry. Now, that doesn't mean that I have not missed trades. I have missed trades because, for example, as you will notice if you follow the channel here often, I talk about a lot of gaps. I generally don't. If there is a gap, I would not enter until that gap is filled, because I kind of like the consolidation phase a lot more, so that I can, generate income on a much regular basis. So I have missed some trades, no doubt about it. But I think overall, I'm very happy with my execution and having that patience for this year.
I think there's a very famous book called Trading in the Zone. I think it's by Mark Douglas.
Okay.
The three key things in that book is discipline, confidence, and patience. So to have patience as what went well within your trading is really key, Kay, and it's really good to hear. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you've got in store for next year. So yeah, no, well done. We'll go straight on to what didn't go well for you. Because obviously you're talking, you might as well go through the flow. So yeah, what didn't go so well for you this year?
So I think the what did not go well is kind of relates to what I talked about. So not pivoting fast enough to take advantage of news cycle. Now we are trading here. And when you're trading, sentiments, news, they play a very important role in taking advantage of that. And I think because I am waiting patiently, it also, the other side of it is you're not pivoting fast enough to take advantage. And I give you example. So MicroStrategy is an example where I did not take advantage of the swing of the trade. Palantir, another example where I was hell-bent on making sure it fills the gap before I make an entry. I missed on that trade as well. There are a couple. So these are the failures I would say, and that's money on the table I left, because if I would have ran, because my entry point in Palantir is about $23, right? It ran up to 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and I think now is in 80s, right? So you can see how many times I have missed that run up. But on the flip side, I have also made money on other places. So these things will happen, but I think if I'm trading, I have to make sure that I am following the news a little bit more closely. Palantir, I can understand why I did not go well, but MicroStrategy was a complete miss on my part because I did not pivot. And I was not able to relate to the Bitcoin run up to MicroStrategy. And I think that's where my miss was. So that's what did not go well for me.
I think the important point from that was you still got opportunities you already had. But yeah, I mean, I had the same sort of thing with SoundHound, I think it's up to like 23 or 24 now, but I sold the whole position at $9. So I missed out on a lot of gains there, but that's obviously part of what didn't go well for me in the second. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. Okay. What didn't go well for me was entry points.
Yeah.
I kept rushing in. So the opposite to you, really, because you were patient, obviously, in your entries and you're kind of adding into your trades. And although it doesn't matter too much with swing trading, your entries, it's still a good discipline to have around kind of entry points. So obviously, kind of moving forward, I want to set kind of limit buys, etc., to kind of really improve them. But again, with entry points, you can really maximize your gains as well if you get the right entry points. And I just wasn't setting it, okay. For some reason, I just wasn't. I was rushing, basically. I just wasn't waiting and having that patience to get in at the right moment. So, for example, a breakout trade might break up above a resistance line, come back down, and obviously I wanted to get to that previous resistance to make it a support. And I wouldn't. I was getting just before or even just after, and it just wasn't the right amount. The right area to get in, essentially, for the trade to play out. And I wasn't burnt a huge amount. Obviously, I had that risk management I spoke about, what went well for the year. But yeah, it just wasn't great for me, my entry points this year, unfortunately. And the other point for me, sorry, you want me to say something?
No. I think you make a very good point, right? Because I think it plays to the part of the patience. And I think that you will only learn through time and practice. Because the first point is that you recognize that is a problem.
Exactly right. And I think experience is everything in trading, for sure.
Yeah.
And you just get it as you go along. It's as simple as that. I always say to new traders, just trade. See. Obviously, you can get the platform, you get used to kind of how it works, etc., the buying and sell, and you can get the technical analysis as long as you go. Along, but the experience is literally everything. I wouldn't be a trader I would be today if I wasn't 2 or 3 years of just doing it, essentially. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit. Let's move on to my next point. So the other thing I didn't go well from is letting my winners run. We kind of played a little bit kind of what you were talking about a bit earlier. But for me, I mean, Soundhound, again, is a good example of that. I didn't let my winner run for that one. I took the whole position at $9 and just didn't let a small portion run. So yeah, that's my other point. This didn't go well for me, and obviously we'll talk about the improvements in a second. Any experience with letting your winners run, okay?
I think more than that, I think I have missed the run completely. The strategy.
We've all been there.
Yeah. So I think that I have a different problem altogether. It's like I missed it completely altogether.
Awesome, right. So I guess we'll talk about what we're improving for 2025 then, shall we? So for me, it's very, very simple. Obviously, there's lots of things I need to improve. Of course, we need to improve daily on pretty much everything throughout the whole kind of point of trading. But for me, more kind of goal orientated for me would be obviously entry points. So I've got to really stick to the discipline of actually setting limit buys or limit sales if I'm obviously shorting stocks. So really having a discipline to kind of set that. And if it doesn't get there, it doesn't get there. And if it does get there, then great, I'm in the trade. And whatever happens afterwards is not up to me. And the second point I'm going to go for this year is obviously letting my winners run. So I'm going to adjust my strategy slightly and take a quarter at a time at each target price, and obviously let the last quarter run to whatever. So, for example, with Soundhound, just a complete example, it got to $8, I would have taken 25%. Got to $8.50, take another 25%. And then $9 or $10 or whatever, take another 25%, and then let the last 25% run, but with the stop loss running up behind the 20 moving average. That's kind of generally what my strategy is slightly now, but I'm just going to tweak it to make it better going ahead in 2025. Does that sound okay for you, Kate? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think sometimes when the stock runs up too much too fast, so even though you know that you should not like take everything off the table, there should be proper risk management, and you should take a house money out and let the runners run. But at that point in time, it's really a psychological game more than anything else. It's more that you stick to your discipline rather than get swayed in the momentum of how things are, and that's where your emotions are running very high.
I did contemplate actually letting the whole position run and then just leave the stop loss coming up behind 20 moving average. But if you do that and the move doesn't quite play out, or if it takes too long to play out, you're just never going to make money.
Exactly.
So as long as you hit your target prices, take those portions off, and then let the last minute run, and that's how you make, obviously, you can grow ultimately. But yeah, always take the little profits as you can. I mean, I'm sure lots of people took profits on Palantir this year, and like you mentioned earlier, MicroStrategy as well. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling now. What are you improving on for 2025?
So for 2025, I'm focusing on taking more asymmetrical bets. And the reason I got to this is first identifying what kind of a trader I am, right? So the problem is like you are a day trader, right? Or you're day trader, swing trader together. I don't day trade. I am mostly an option seller, and then I do swing trades a lot. So identifying what exactly works for me based on my schedule, that is very important. And now I'm shifting more towards, rather than taking those little bit of profits every single time, like a 10%, 15%, I'm looking to get more on the asymmetrical side where the upside potential is much higher. And I'll give you an example. We talked about Uber. You go back, check my video on Uber on my channel. That talks about a typical example of an asymmetrical bet. I talked about Snowflake. I talked about Lululemon. Not in that video, I talked about Lululemon. You can check that out as well. But those are the more asymmetrical bets that I'm planning to take in 2025. And I'll test it out in 2025 and see how that plays out.
So I think it was a high quality conversation. We talked about risk management, we talked about entries, we talked about letting our winners run, and of course our asymmetric trades that we're looking to get into in 2025. Again, if you found value in this, please hit the subscribe button and obviously hit the like button. Really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.